In the 1880s, Buffalo Bill caused a sensation when his Wild West show toured Britain. In 1899, one of the earliest surviving Western films was made in Blackburn, Lancashire. Britain had caught Wild West fever, and I've come to Chalke Valley History Festival to find out how much of the Hollywood Wild West lines up with the real Wild West. As you can tell, everything was filmed live on the day in the middle of a busy event, so you will hear the sounds of a bustling historical reenactment. The golden age of the American frontier was already in decline when Buffalo Bill brought his famous Wild West show to Britain in 1887. The West was something people could only read about in books or newspapers, but now, for the first time, audiences could see cowboys and Native Americans in real life. From sharpshooting and horsemanship to battle reenactments, these performances were hugely popular. But they also, along with dime novels and the arrival of moving pictures, contributed to many myths and misconceptions about the West. I wanted to discover what life was really like in the Wild West, so I started with the one thing every budding cowboy would need: a gun. I wanted to learn how to become a real sharpshooter, so I had to go with some replica pellet and blank firers. But the West wasn't as wild as we might think. Many towns had strict laws about carrying firearms, often requiring visitors to turn in their guns when entering. Rarely would rivals face each other in the middle of a deserted street to duel. They were far more likely to die in an ambush, shot from behind. The image of gunslingers having long, drawn-out battles is also unrealistic. These revolvers can be fiddly and time-consuming to reload, so if you only had one gun, the fight could be over rather quickly. Even the most famous shootout at the OK Corral lasted less than a minute. So whenever we watch Western films, these are some of the most famous and iconic guns. Tell me a little bit more about them.
So the one which needs absolutely zero introduction is made by Colt in 1873. Officially, they called this the Single Action Army. Very imaginative name. It was made for the army and it was a single action gun. However, in civilian hands, it became famously known as the Peacemaker. Now, this is the gun which you'll see in almost every single Western. However, it's highly unlikely the average cowboy would actually have one of these because they were quite expensive. They cost about $25 brand new. Now, this is very agricultural. This is a Civil War era pistol made by Remington in 1858 called the New Model Army. This is probably the most authentic gun you would see in a cowboy's hands because they were cheap, they were army surplus post-Civil War, and you could convert them to take a cartridge as well. But black powder and lead shot is very cheap compared to cartridges which all had to be shipped in. So this one here is probably what you would see the average cattleman actually using.
Wow, well let's have a go shooting them.
There we go.
Gonna do some mighty damage with that big iron on his hip.
How's that feel?
Very nice.
Yeah. You see why John Wayne liked it?
Yeah.
This gun, so popular in fact, that it started production in 1873 and it finished production by Colt in 1980.
Wow.
It's a long time.
Yeah, well thank you.
You're very welcome.
The Winchester rifle is one of the most famous guns from the period, branded as the gun that won the West. As a repeater rifle, it was revolutionary. It was fast to reload and extremely easy to use. Nobody will be robbing my stagecoach in a hurry. I enjoyed trying these out, but I'm no Annie Oakley. It was time for me to practice another crucial cowboy skill: cattle herding. That was, after all, the main job of a cowboy. They would transport large herds of cattle over vast distances to ranches and markets. I had to learn how to lasso them like a real rawhide.
Basically, you throw it on, that's it, and then there we go.
watch Western films, everyone's just having a shootout, but in reality, most of these cowboys were just cattle farmers driving thousands of cattle, thousands of miles across the state. So what was that like?
Well, it wasn't a fantastic job. I mean, there are people who still do it today and they absolutely live it as a passion, but it was a low-paid job. It was a farmhand, looking after massive ranches, far bigger than what we have in this country, and driving cattle to new pastures for months on end, living out in the bush, eating nothing but beef jerky. And that's about it. That's your life as probably about a 16 to early 20-year-old young lad.
Yeah, so it's not so much John Wayne. You know, who are the type of people doing this?
Well, I mean, cowboy, as we refer to it, is a bit of a generic term for Wild West, but they literally were cow herders. So they would have been young people. It was fairly underskilled, it was low paid, as I said, and there would have been a lot of minority folk doing it. A lot of the tactics which cowboys actually used to herd cattle were African. And then the other side of that, there's a lot of Mexicans as well, also doing the job. But our modern view of it is very much whitewashed by Hollywood.
If I wasn't going to make it as a marksman, and I wasn't going to be a good cowgirl either, then perhaps I could hone my skills at tomahawk throwing.
We have the Native American tomahawks, which were traditionally used by the Native Americans, well, as a multitude of weapons. You have a tool, you have a melee weapon, and you have a ranged throwing weapon. Really, really fantastic weapon, this. Really, really good. Are you going to be having a go?
Absolutely, yeah.
Please do. Right, I'm going to give you an axe, and we're going to show you how we do this. Right-handed, I do take it?
Yep.
Fine. We are going to hold the axe at the very base of the handle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take you forward just a little bit right up to my throwing line and arm out nice and straight for me.
Yeah.
So from this point, this is all in the elbows and the shoulders. Don't need any flicking of the wrist. Straight back, straight forwards.
Yeah.
Easy as so. So straight back, straight forwards. Terrible example. When you're ready. Now we're talking.
Oh yes, now we're hitting it. Oh yes. Native American performers were central to Wild West shows, demonstrating their skills at archery, hunting and horsemanship. They were treated well by Buffalo Bill, and the show was an opportunity to get paid to showcase their traditions at a time when native cultural expressions were suppressed. But the show also contributed to negative stereotypes about Native Americans, portraying them as peculiar, wild, savage creatures defeated by the advance of civilization. I wasn't very good at axe throwing, but at least I was able to bust some more historical myths. So what are some common misconceptions about throwing axes?
Misconceptions. So, the Vikings. We're going to go a little bit further back than the Western. Did the Vikings throw their weapons? No, the Vikings, very poor people. These were their tools. These were sometimes the only weapons that they would take into battle. Why would you throw your only weapon away? Big misconception there. They did not throw their weapons.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for letting me throw at some targets.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much. I hope you have a nice day.
By the 1910s, the West was no longer wild. All the territories in the western frontier had been colonised, and the motor car started trundling through towns. The last surviving cowboys told stories about legendary outlaws of the lost Golden Age, and dime novels and silent films mythologized a period which was now at the edge of living memory. If you want to learn more about how one of the earliest Western films was made in Britain, then check out the video on our channel. As you know, I love getting my hands on history, and I've really enjoyed getting to grips with just one slice of it today. Now, there's plenty more history to discover at Chalke Valley Festival, so if you love to immerse yourself in the past, please do give it a visit.